Wait, what if everything you believed about the other sect was wrong? If you're a Sunni Muslim, you might think, all Shias do mutta, temporary marriage, or even more shockingly, they believe the Quran originally had 40 parts. But if you're a Shia Muslim, maybe you've heard, Sunnis don't love Imam Ali. They ignore the Ali bait. They followed those who turned their backs on the Prophet's family. Mosques divided, families broken, fatwas flying from pulpits. And you caught in the crossfire. Has your local imam ever declared the other sect as misguided, maybe even outside Islam, confused, angry, curious? You're not alone. But here's the twist. It's not just about right or wrong. It's about how history shaped belief, how power shaped theology, and how emotion clouded understanding. In this video, we're diving deep into the 7 most shocking differences between Sunni and Shia Islam. Not to divide, but to understand. But listen closely. If you skip any part, you'll miss the core reason why hearts remain divided after 1400 years. Let me go through the first difference. Who leads after the Prophet? The schism between Shia and Sunni Islam traces its roots to a seismic dispute following the Prophet Muhammad's death in 632 CE. Who was rightful to lead the Muslim community? Sunnis, comprising roughly 85–90% of Muslims, assert that the Prophet left no explicit successor, and leadership should be chosen by consensus. They uphold the election of Abu Bakr, the Prophet's close companion, as the first caliph, citing his piety and the community's agreement. Historical accounts, like those in Sahih al-Bukhari, emphasize Abu Bakr's role in stabilizing the Ummah during the Ridda Wars. Sunnis argue this process reflects ijma, consensus, a cornerstone of their theology, ensuring leadership is merit-based and community-driven. Shia Muslims, however, passionately believe that leadership was divinely ordained for Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law. They point to events like Ghadir Qum, where the Prophet declared Ali as Mawla, master or friend, interpreted by Shia as a clear designation of succession. Shia texts, such as Kitab al-Irshad by Sheikh Mufid, argue that Ali's unparalleled closeness to the Prophet and his impeccable character made him the rightful Imam. This disagreement over succession ignited a rift, with Shia viewing the first 3 caliphs as usurpers, while Sunnis revere them as the Rashidun, rightly guided. The debate remains a fiery cornerstone of identity for both sects. Now we can try to understand the second difference. Imamate or caliphate. What defines true leadership? For Shia Muslims, the concept of imamate is not merely political, but divine. They believe in a line of infallible imams, starting with Ali, and continuing through his descendants, chosen by God to guide the Ummah spiritually and temporally. Each imam, according to Shia doctrine, possesses esoteric knowledge and is a protector of the faith's purity. The 12 Shia, the largest branch, await the return of the 12th Imam, Muhammad al-Mahdi, believed to be an occultation since 874 CE. Texts like Al-Kafi emphasize the Imam's role as intermediaries between God and humanity, a belief that imbues Shia theology with a mystical depth. Sunnis, in contrast, view leadership through the lens of the caliphate, a human institution tasked with upholding Islamic law and governance. Caliphs, while respected, are not considered infallible or divinely appointed. Sunni scholars, drawing from works like Ibn Hisham's biography of the Prophet, argue that the caliph's role is to serve the community, guided by shura, consultation, and adherence to the Quran and Sunnah. This pragmatic approach contrasts sharply with the Shia's spiritualized imamate, fueling debates about authority that reverberate through Islamic history. Moving on to the third difference, who has the ultimate right to interpret Islam? The question of who holds the authority to interpret Islam's sacred texts divides Shia and Sunni profoundly. Shia Muslims place immense trust in their imams and, in their absence, in qualified scholars, mujtahids, who practice ijtihad, independent reasoning. The concept of wilayat al-faqih, guardianship of the jurist, prominent in Iran's governance, stems from this, where a supreme scholar guides the community. Shia hadith collections, like those in Al-Kafi, are distinct, prioritizing narrations from Ali and the Imams, seen as authoritative due to their divine connection. Sunnis, however, distribute interpretative authority more broadly, relying on a consensus of scholars across four major legal schools: Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and Hanbali. They emphasize the Sunnah as preserved in 6 canonical hadith collections, such as Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, which include narrations from a wider range of companions. Sunnis argue this collective approach prevents individual bias, while Shia counter that only divinely guided figures can truly interpret God's will. This divergence shapes everything from law to daily practice, making it a pulsating point of contention. Let's reflect on the fourth difference. How should we view the Prophet's companions? The Prophet's companions, Sahaba, hold different statuses in Shia and Sunni thought. Sunnis venerate the companions, particularly the first 4 caliphs, as exemplars of faith, citing Quranic verses like Surah Al-Tawbah that praise the early Muslims. Sunni tradition, as in Tabaqat ibn Sa'd, portrays them as united in their devotion to Islam's spread. Shia, however, adopt a critical stance toward some companions, particularly those who opposed Ali, like Abu Bakr, Umar, and Aisha. They argue that loyalty to the Prophet's family, Ahl al-Bayt, supersedes, pointing to hadiths like Thaqalain, where the Prophet emphasized the Quran and his family. This divergence fuels emotional debates, with Shia accusing certain companions of betrayal, while Sunnis defend their integrity, making it a riveting point of contention. Let's now talk about the fifth difference. Do worship practices tell a deeper story? While both sects share the 5 pillars of Islam, their execution of rituals reveals striking differences. In prayer, Shia Muslims combine the 5 daily prayers into 3 time slots, e.g. Duh and Asr together, citing the Prophet's precedent in hadiths recorded in Bihar al-Anwar. They also place a small clay tablet, turba, from Karbala during prostration, symbolizing humility and connection to Imam Hussein's martyrdom. Shia Adhan includes the phrase, Ali is the Wali of Allah, underscoring Ali's centrality. Sunnis, adhering to stricter timing, pray 5 times daily at prescribed intervals, as outlined in Sahih Muslim. They reject the turba, praying directly on the ground or a rug, viewing additions as bid'ah, innovation. The Sunni Adhan omits references to Ali, focusing solely on God and the Prophet. These ritual distinctions, though subtle, are deeply symbolic, often sparking heated debates about authenticity and tradition that captivate followers on both sides. Now let's look at the 6th difference. Why does the tragedy of Karbala still shake the Muslim world? The martyrdom of Imam Hussein, Ali's son, at Karbala in 680 CE is a defining moment for Shia Islam, etched into their collective soul. Shia commemorate Hussein's stand against the Umayyad Caliph Yazid through Ashura, a period of mourning marked by passionate processions, chest beating, and reenactments. Texts like Maqtal al-Hussein narrate Hussein's sacrifice as a defense of true Islam, making Karbala a symbol of resistance against tyranny. This emotional intensity shapes Shia identity, fostering a culture of sacrifice and resilience. Sunnis, while respecting Hussein as a revered figure and martyr, do not observe Ashura with the same fervor. They acknowledge Karbala as a tragic event, with some fasting on the 10th of Muharram, but view it as a historical rather than theological cornerstone. Sunni sources like Ibn Kathir's Al-Bidayah wal-Nihaya frame Hussein's death as a political miscalculation rather than a cosmic struggle. This difference in narrative fuels a profound emotional and cultural divide, gripping audiences with its dramatic weight. Now let's dive into the seventh difference. Is the awaited savior the same for both sects? Both sects believe in a messianic figure, but their visions differ. 12 Shia await the return of the 12th Imam, Muhammad al-Mahdi, believed to be, in occultation, who will restore justice alongside Prophet Jesus. Shia texts, like Bihar al-Anwar, describe the Mahdi's role vividly, making his return a cornerstone of faith that inspires hope and anticipation. Sunnis also believe in the Mahdi, but their concept, based on hadiths found in sources like Sunan Abu Dawud and Sunan ibn Majah, is less centralized compared to the Shia view. They believe the Mahdi will be a righteous leader from the family of the Prophet al-Bayt, who will appear near the end times to restore justice. However, they reject the idea of occultation, believing instead that the Mahdi will be born in the future, not that he is already alive and hidden. This difference in eschatological focus creates a mystical allure for Shia and a more pragmatic outlook for Sunnis, captivating audiences with its cosmic implications.